Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live episode tonight. It's Friday. So, tama no? It's already Friday. And we will talk about, of course, low carb and fasting. But ngayon, I will entertain questions. So, for those na merong mga questions dyan, make sure that you are live ngayon and also share this in your timeline, in your page, in your personal profile, and also in the group chats ng inyong mga loved ones and family para lahat ay matuto in another learning session when it comes to low carb nutrition and therapeutic fasting lifestyle. So, Q&A lang tayo ngayon. How are you, everybody? I hope you are doing well. And it's not so often na nakakapag-go live na tayo because of our busy schedule. But I'm so happy na nandyan kayo agad every time we go live. So if you have questions, you can put them in the comment section. Mababasa ko yan. So we are live in our Twitter, YouTube, and also Facebook channels. Hello, Sir Ricky and Ma'am Teresita, ating first few commenters. And hello, my dear Denise. How are you? Nakakatuwa naman that you are here. Kanina lang tayo nagkita, no? So, Ma'am Erlene, hello din po. Good evening sa inyong lahat. And of course, hindi mawawala si Ma'am Lorena, Ma'am Crescencia. Thank you po. Ang cute. This is the first time na nag-comment. Good evening po, Mrs. Diet Doctora. Mrs. na talaga, no? Si J-Cat, Ma'am Eileen, Pisha, Alba, Christina, all the way from Malabon, Evelyn, Bernard, kamusta din po kayo? Rosalie, Eileen, Gloria, Ma'am Gemma Bumanglag, and also Ma'am Nympha, Maricel, Emma, Baldwin, new subscriber. Thank you so much po. I hope marami kayong matututunan. And Ma'am Mary Ann from Japan. And of course, Ma'am Mary Grace, all the way from Cebu yan. Kilala na natin si Ma'am Mary Grace, no? Ma'am Lori, Ma'am Lorena, Larry, Amy, Nelda, and Rockista TV na meron ng question. Most preferred sweetener na pasok sa low carb lifestyle. So going back to our food list, every time we have questions sa ating mga pagkain or what's pasok or hindi pasok sa low carb, always go back to our JGC Rojo food list na downloadable in jgrtanmd.com. So I hope you can visit that website kasi merong updates dyan on our book. So sa mga matagal na naghihintay for our second edition, I'm sure marami na sa inyong naghihintay. You've been asking no kung makakabili ba kayo ng ating health and wellness books. And for the longest time, I've been saying na wag muna because we will release our second edition. At ngayon nga available na siya. So going back to the question is, sir, yung ating sweeteners po, maraming klase yan. So as much as possible, we try to avoid yung mga very artificial, chemical-based na mga sweeteners. And those are mostly nasa danger list yan. So danger list, yun yung mga maltodextrin. So those are high glycemic index na nilalabel as healthy. When it comes naman to other like better kind of sweeteners, hindi pa rin natin tinatawag itong safe. So no sweetener is really safe, but they are in our caution list. So merong mga low carb sweeteners that doesn't spike blood insulin. Yung kailangan lang isipin na they can give you that tendency na i-crave mo sila. Whatever you keep on eating, usually yun din yung i-crave ng katawan mo. So if you don't want to be enslaved by sweets, either high carb or low carb man, try to minimize your intake of it. So for the low carb sweeteners na generally at least better than others ha. So ito ay sinatawag nating lesser evil kumbaga. So highlight natin yung question ni sir, meron tayong erythritol. So there are studies now na kung sobra-sobra yung consumption mo like more than 30 grams per day. So 30 grams, that is 2 tablespoon worth in a day, that can already have some deleterious effect. However, if minimal lang naman, then wala namang studies to prove na eto talaga ay dangerous. But yun lang, that's why when you have to take it, be very cautious sa amount nito and also kung ano itong kasama niya. So others would be, aside from erythritol, no, meron din tayong stevia. So usually yung mga stevia, it's very, very sweet when it comes to sugar na comparison. Stevia doesn't actually, or usually, hindi siya given alone. So it's usually stevia plus meron siyang bulking agent. And the common bulking agent is still erythritol. So whenever you use stevia powder, stevia tablets, stevia, kung ano-ano man, usually may erythritol yan. I think yung mga pure stevia is yung real leaf talaga na stevia or yung mga drops. So usually yung drops naman, one drop lang is already enough to sweeten yung isang cup ng coffee. So monk fruit is also a natural sweetener. And what else? Allulose. So allulose is a common, not very common, but it's a sugar na alternative na yung structure niya para talagang totoong sugar, para talaga siyang glucose. But nagde-differ lang sila on chemical structure, yung turning nila, yung isa left, yung isa naman on the right. So allulose, it's like sugar, tastes like sugar. Siya yung pinaka-comparable with sugar, especially for baking, yung nagka-caramelize. However, medyo expensive and not readily available here and still in our caution list. So those four are the ones. Meron pa namang iba na safer. Like say for example, yung inulin. So inulin is a type of fiber na sweet din. So ginagawa na rin siyang parang sugar alternative because it's in powder form. However, for those na merong sensitivity on fibers and yung tinatawag nating mga certain kinds of fibers na na-ferment sa ating tiyan, no, it can lead into bloating. Wala namang sobrang side effect talaga na delikado. But yun, may bloating lang, utot ng utot, and others really have parang diarrhea. So, nagkakaroon sila ng ganong effect when it comes to inulin. And also, even other sweeteners. So, even erythritol and mostly common na mga sweeteners. My husband is actually sensitive to sweeteners. So, nasanay na siya na lahat, wala talagang sweeteners. Kasi before, akala namin he's just lactose intolerant. So, for the longest time, hindi na nagbi-milk. So, from time to time, when it comes to milk naman, we can talk about that. But as long as it's not much, like say, for example, 50 ml in a day, so that's just around less than 5 grams yung carbohydrates niyan if it's full cream milk. But if you put sugar in it or if you put yun nga mga sweeteners, you might also you might also have a effect, no? It might also have manifestations on you. Pwedeng magkaroon ng parang diarrhea. So try to do elimination. So para malaman ninyo kung saan kayo sensitive. For more info about food sensitivities and tolerance, I think we made a video about that last week or early this week. So check nyo na lang. Okay? So I hope I answered your question. Erythritol, stevia, and then monk fruit, and also allulose. So if meron kayong mga ganyan, usually dun lang naglalaro yung mga common na nagagamit namin if ever. Like I have that in the kitchen, sometimes for cooking, kung may mga bisita, if they want sweeteners, but sobrang tagal, hindi nauubos. Nandiyan pa rin. My stash for that one, parang security blanket lang, but it's actually not there. It's actually not being used all the time. So yun lang. But when you buy your low carb na mga treats and goodies, even if they are, usual na binibila natin ng mga low carb, you also try to ask. I hope na honest naman yung mga sellers natin when it comes to their ingredients, no? Kasi these sweeteners, yung erythritol, meron siyang parang minty taste. At saka if it's pure, hindi talaga niya makukuha yung real texture ng sugar. Yung stevia sometimes meron siyang bitter aftertaste. I think yung pinakamasarap sa kanila, like sugar, real sugar when it comes to taste, is allulose and then followed by monk fruit. So, yon. But commonly, mas nagagamit is the cheaper alternatives, yung mga sucralose, because yun nga, mas mura sila and konting lagay mo lang, namimimic na talaga yung sweetness na parang high carb. So, be also very cautious about that. Yung mga tips natin when it comes to taking sweets and treats, no? Always consider that on special occasions lang. Huwag pasanayin ang katawan na araw-araw kumakain yan. Okay? So yan. I hope na sagot natin yung tanong mo, Rakizda TV. So, si Sir Rodney, sobrang payat at nag-barbell na po. Pwede po kumain ng kamote, patatas, saba po. So, meron akong video lately sa mga allowable carbs and kung when kayo pwedeng kumain ng kamote, as to how much, and kung ano yung goal ninyo. If wala namang health na concerns, no, it's just on muscle bulking, and I hope when you do your muscle gaining, muscle building activity, it is with guidance para tama din yung inyong ginagawa at mas maging successful kayo. Bago kayo kumain yan, make sure na enough or tama yung intake ninyo ng proteins and healthy fats. Kasi sometimes, mas madaling magsabi na magka-carbs na lang. When in fact, what you really need to do pala is baka to increase your protein intake and fats at baka hindi naman kailangan ng addition of other carbs. Good evening, Ma'am Lucita, Anna Rose, Joy. Hello po, Ma'am Flor. So, Q&A lang tayo ngayong gabing ito. And I hope you are doing well this Friday night. Do you have plans for the weekend? Hello, Andy, Abu Dhabi, from Abu Dhabi. Bernard, Georgie, how many eggs ba dapat kainin sa isang araw kung ayaw mong magkanin? So, meron din akong video about eggs and meron akong post about eggs, no? Generally, we get our calorie intake from fats and proteins. Okay? So, kung eggs lang yung kakainin mo buong araw or i-replace mo siya sa rice. So, isang cup ng rice, nasa 40 grams yan ng proteins equivalent to nasa around 200 kilocalories. So, kung kukunin mo yan sa egg, halos mga nasa 3 or 4, depende sa laki ng eggs. No? So, average na lang like around 3 eggs to compensate sa isang cup ng rice when it comes to calories. However, you have to also remember na not everyone is tolerant to eggs. Like right now, I just discovered na hindi pala ako ganun ka-tolerant to egg white. So ngayon, kapag kumakain ako ng egg yolk na lang, yung yellow na lang yung kinakain ko. I think kakabahan yung mga taong takot sa cholesterol. But we are not afraid of cholesterol, especially if they come from sources na alam nating healthy naman. So organic eggs, those are the best kinds of eggs. Or marami na ngayon organic, free-range, antibiotic-free. Oh, gano'n na yung mga eggs and chicken ngayon. But of course, sobrang complicated na yan kung yan lang yung iisipin mo. So that's why low carb, to simplify it, at least eat the ones na nasa safe list natin, and as much as possible, if kaya, sabayan ito ng fasting, because fasting will help, no? Kung meron man tayong hindi ma-perfect sa ating kinakain, so fasting can actually somewhat, no, ma-iron out niya yung mga kakulangan na yon. So nasa sa inyo how much you can tolerate. Before, I can eat as much as 6 to 10 eggs a day. Right now, 1 to 2 egg yolk na lang. Yon. Plus, more on the meat, more on the karne, taba, gano'n. Yun yung usual natin kinakain ngayon. So, Sir Bernard, 1 year and 8 months sa low carb and following you always. Hello po, Bernard Munoz sa Monte. So, Rolando, good evening from Ilocos Norte. Ma'am Lori, Ma'am Norilyn, Jesus Gloria, Mary Jane from Hinubaan, and Pressy. Wow, Lola Pressy, 65 years old, and Auburn from Berlin, and Kuya Paul, TV, watching from Paranaque. Good evening. Balik loob ako sa low carb. Yan. It's good, no? So, past half the year na tayo. So, make sure na ready kayo sa upcoming holidays by becoming healthy. Okay? Kasi mas importante pa rin kung ano yung ginagawa natin most times of the year. Okay? So, si Bauer, hindi po ba mataas ang cholesterol ng egg? So, mataas ang cholesterol ng egg, yes. But the recent studies now, okay, ito yung pinaka-importante, na wala palang cap, wala palang sinasabi. Noon, for the longest time, sinasabi na yung cholesterol ang nakaka-block sa ating ugat. But now, recent study shows na hindi. hindi pala yon totoo. It's not directly correlated kung gaano karaming cholesterol na kinakain natin to the amount of cholesterol na nasa ating katawan. In fact, those people na nag-a-avoid ng cholesterol on their diet totally, ang kanilang liver ay nagpo-produce ng cholesterol to compensate for that lack because it's really normal for our body to have cholesterol in it. Yun talaga yung source ng yung pinaka klase ng taba na dumadaloy sa ating dugo in order for it to be absorbed para gawing hindi lang po kasi hindi masama yung taba. Okay? Fats is very essential in our body, like our brain feeds on fats, our heart feeds on fats, yung mga hormones natin na kailangan natin for our regular daily activity, those are made of fats, the sex hormones, okay? So, everything is really related to fats. At kapag mababa yan, then that can lead into weakness. That can lead into mga brain fog. Hindi masyadong gumagana yung ating utak if we have very, very low in cholesterol and other healthy fats. So, the current na publication ngayon ay tinanggal na nila yung cap. Kasi before, meron silang limit as to the amount of cholesterol na pwede lang kainin or consume in a day. But now, since they noticed na hindi naman pala related yung dietary intake of cholesterol to your blood cholesterol level. So, tinanggal na nila yan. And it's not really the cause of heart attacks and strokes, no? But it's really the inflammation, ang pamamaga talaga, na usually ay nanggaling sa pagkain natin ng too much inflammatory foods. So, inflammatory foods may be direct, no? Ng mga inflammatory talaga, yung mga ultra-processed, the ones that are in fast foods, yung mga chips, mga sodas, mga milk tea, but they're also indirect na inflammatory, meaning they can be inflammatory in the long run. So, say for example, bread or rice, immediately hindi sila inflammatory. But if araw-araw mo silang kinakain, kanin, tinapay, mga noodles, pasta, even fruits to some extent kung sobra-sobra yung kinakain mo at araw-araw mo silang kinakain, it can build up into insulin resistance. Kasi sa pagtaas ng inyong sugar, tataas din yung iyong insulin level and that can lead into insulin resistance, and insulin resistance is related na to inflammation at marami ng pathway yan. And fructose naman in fruits, okay? Hindi siya directly nakaka-cause ng increase ng glucose, pero based on studies, nakaka-increase ito ng insulin resistance. Too much fructose ay pwedeng mag-lead into too much triglyceride formation and fatty liver. So try to ask kung sino yung mga nag-a-avoid ng taba, nag-a-avoid ng cholesterol, pero sobra-sobra kung kumain ng fruits, nakakaubos ng 10 saging sa isang araw. Kung kumain man ng mangga, ay buong harvest nila, ay kinukonsumo lang nila. Try to check their triglycerides and liver enzymes. Marami sa mga sobra kung kumain ng fruits would have signs of liver injury, fatty liver, or even yung mga non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. So, yan. So, Ma'am Tess, good evening, Ma'am Margarita. Hindi po ba applicable ang sugar at nagtitake ng TV Dots ang low-carb diet? So, mataas ang sugar and ang mataas na sugar, of course, low carb is really applicable. Kasi nga, kaya nga tumaas yung sugar, di ba? Because most likely, you are consuming way too much na sugar. So, sugar kasi, hindi lang yan in the form of asukal. Again, yung sugar, mas marami sa mga Pinoy na nag-a-avoid ng mga matatamis are actually over-consuming their starch intake or yung mga complex carbohydrates na hindi matamis. In fact, they are matabang. Halos wala silang lasa. But the moment that we already process them, na grind na natin sa ating mouth, and then our stomach, na digest na, then it will become glucose. Naging asukal siya sa loob ng katawan nyo without you experiencing the sweetness. Yun yung nakakalungkot dyan, no? Yun na nga lang yung hinahabol ng iba, hindi mo pa naramdaman when you take all of these na mga matatabang na carbohydrates. So, try to look at your rice intake, patatas intake, bread intake, pandesal, tinapay, and kung ano-ano pang mga carbs. So, root crops, yung saging na saba na hilaw na niluluto, that's still carbohydrates. And for TB dots naman, so anti-TB na mga medications, remember, bacteria thrive in sugar. So that's the reason why yung mga diabetics actually have higher risk of having complicated na mga infection. And when your sugar is not controlled, mataas yung sugar mo, your recovery from infection will also be less. So it is better to really control your sugar or make sure na nasa normal or mababa yung sugar mo so that you can easily combat kahit anong infection pa yung ina-undergo mo. An infection is stress in the body. So normally, kahit pa wala ka ng kinakaing sugar, your body can lead into yung tinatawag nating stress hyperglycemia. It has this tendency na mag-produce ng sarili niyang glucose. Yung gluconeogenesis, ma-activate yan. So kahit pa naka-low carb ka, pwedeng slightly tataas yung blood sugar mo. It's because of that stress response. So imagine, tumaas na nga yung sugar mo, kakain ka pa ng extra sugar, so sobra-sobra na yan, at hindi na ikaw yung magiging malakas, but yung magiging malakas would be the bacteria and viruses na nasa katawan mo. And not just that, even fungal infection. So fungus, if you have fungal infection, especially sa mga babae, so there can be itching in their intimate parts, no? Meron yan nagkakaroon ng whitish na mga plaques or even sa skin, sometimes sa scalp or saan pa ba? Foot athlete's foot. So, even yung mga sa skin diseases, aside from hygiene, of course, if you have high blood sugar, you'll also have higher tendencies of these skin na infections, fungal, bacterial, and even viral infections because these pathogens, nagsa-thrive sila when it comes to sugar. Kapag mataas ang sugar nyo, sila ay natutuwa. So, if you don't want them to thrive, kung ayaw mong sila ay manalo, so make sure you are fueling on the kind of fuel na ikaw lang yung makaka-benefit and not those pathogens. So, good thing we can processed fats as a good source of energy. So yes, Ma'am Margarita, I know people and patients na who underwent TB dots treatment. So that's a minimum of 6 months. Follow your treatment. I think wala lang munang longer fasting because majority of these medicine early morning iniinom and sometimes baka mahapdi sa tiyan. But if you can tolerate it, then you can just continue your intake of your usual food on regular time. So at least 12 hours of fasting lang, circadian fasting. Ano yung circadian fasting? That's just 4 to 6 hours yung last meal niyo compared sa inyong time of tulog. So if you plan to sleep by 11, dapat mga around 6 p.m., 5 to 6 p.m., tapos na kayong kumain. Pinaka-late na yung 7 p.m. Okay? Sige. So maraming salamat for everybody who's here. Nasa more than 600 live viewers na tayo. And again, this is part of our National Low Carb Day 2023 live series co-presented by Burp Low Carb Deli. And of course, we have our partners, no? We have our platinum sponsors, Lorene, Just Go Low Carb, Perfect Match, Naturals, Shapes, Keto Cake, Sweet Best, and Pep D. And also for our gold sponsors, we have Gavries, Keto Mojo, Keto Zone, Health Max Care, LCF Essentials PH, Cafe Viva, and our silver sponsor, Low Carb Mimi by Subimonte, and our bronze sponsors, Malign Insurance and Keto Cocina. So meron dito si J. Cat, nag-try mag-low carb last month. 4 kilograms yung bumagsak. So, mabilis yung kanyang metabolism. Kaya madali po ako magutom. So, nalalambot ako kapag nagutom ulit. Pero ending na po, hindi ko na tinuloy. Oh, oh, bakit kaya hindi tunuloy ni JCat? So that's good that you enrolled in Diabetes Masterclass and then try to really learn yung mga kailangan nating malaman dyan. Because if naglalambot ka, it might be na kulang yung kinakain nyo or baka nasobrahan yung gamot nyo. Because when you do low carb, the lesser na yung need for medications. Because of course, ang mga gamot sa diabetes, nagpapababa yan ng blood sugar based on standard na diet. So, ang standard na diet, actually, nasa 60 grams of carbs per meal, hindi per day. Di ba, low carb is just about 50 grams or less per day. Imagine yung standard recommendation ng diabetes na diet, ha? Nasa 60 grams of carbohydrates per meal and nire-recommend pa na three major meals with two snacks in between. So that can actually easily accumulate to about 200 grams of carbohydrate per day. So yung standard na medications is just enough sa ganyang way of eating. Okay? So the moment that you do low carb, more than half of the medications, mostly hindi na rin kailangan. So when we have these cases, usually, it's best of course that you learn it properly na available na rin sa ating websites for learnings, diabetes, and many other illness in www.lcfmasterclass.org. So dapat meron kayong proper monitoring. Proper monitoring ng inyong blood sugar when you wake up in the morning, bago kumain, and right after kumain, para malaman ninyo if meron na kayong danger, no, na baka magka-hypoglycemia na kayo, bumabagsak na below 70. So, kailangan na talaga yan i-wean off. That's also the reason why if learning on your own is not enough, we have naman our doctors, no? We have our low carb doctors available. Sorry na hindi pa ako available for now because I'm busy on my surgical practice dahil ako po ay isang surgeon. Ako po ay isang ENT specialist and a surgeon na yun talaga yung trabaho ko. This one, low carb and fasting is my own personal lifestyle, okay? Personal ko to and also to my family and friends na sinishare ko lang sa inyo. And whatever I know, I try to share it with everyone. At yun nga, nandyan na yan sa ating LCF Masterclass, yung structured na learning natin para hindi na tayo paulit-ulit so that you will know whatever I know at kayo na mismo maka-apply nito. And of course, for guidance, we have our low carb doctors then and other coaches to guide you if in case kailangan nyo ng guidance. Of course, and even if you, after learning everything, we still suggest na babalik pa rin kayo sa inyong endocrinologist. We have a lot of community members na they learned how to properly monitor yung kanilang blood sugar while doing low carb, and in just as easy as 1 month, bumalik sila sa kanilang endo na kahit hindi naka-low carb yung endo nila. But the moment that they see na yung inyong blood glucose monitoring is already normalizing or in a point na hindi na kailangan ng gamot, then even the endocrinologist na mismo ang tumatanggal ng gamot. Ganun po ka-amazing ang ating low carb and fasting. So, maraming salamat for that. Thank you po, Ma'am Lori, for appreciating our live Q&A ngayon. Pwede ba daw kumain ng polvoron na stevia ang sweetener niya? I think nakita ko to. So, there's this parang stall ata in the mall na polvoron using stevia. And I really thought na it can really deceive a lot, maring maloko niya. Yes, pag ginamit yung stevia, it will lessen the sugar content ng polvoron. But you have to know na majority actually ng carbohydrates or glucose na nasa polvoron ay hindi nanggaling sa sugar, kundi nanggaling sa harina. So it came from flour. Kasi yung flour, for example, ang isang kutsara ng flour as compared to sugar, no? Isang kutsara ng flour na isang kutsarita ng asukal would be, isang kutsarita ng asukal, that would be about 5 grams of carbohydrates, no? Pero yung isang kutsara ng harina or flour would actually be more. So, tingnan natin how many, one, para ma-confirm natin, tablespoon flour, not carbs. Kasi, ang flour natin is still considered as starch. Okay? So, 1 cup, 1 tablespoon of white flour. Yan. Tablespoon of white flour. Meron siyang, actually, nasa pareho lang sila. Tablespoon ng So, yung isang pulburo na yan, maybe nasa kalahati or 1 teaspoon yan of white sugar yung laman yan. And then, yung equivalent na 1 tablespoon or 2 tablespoon of flour na nandyan would actually give you halos equivalent of two tablespoon more of sugar. Okay? So, hindi lang kasi yung sugar yung nilelesen natin sa ating low carb lifestyle. So, Joy, if you will eat that, it is better than using sugar, no? But what is better is to make your own low carb polvoron. So what's nice is we have alternative low carb na mga flours naman. It might not taste as exactly the same, of course, as usual polvoron, no? But if you learn to love the taste, actually mas masarap pa siya. So we usually use, nung hindi ko pa alam na I'm sensitive to almond flour and almond na products. So, almond flour at konting coconut flour or yung iba coconut flour lang. So, totostahin mo lang. So, you just cook it and then put butter or oil, na coconut oil. And then lagyan ng yung gustong sweetener na low carb, the ones we mentioned a while ago. And you'll have your own low carb pulveron na. Okay? So, yan. And nasa 30 minutes na tayo. Pwede ba kumain as much as you want during your eating window? So if you are still a beginner, then you may. Kasi we don't want to give a signal sa katawan natin na nagde-deprive tayo. So, unahin nyo munang make sure na yung katawan nyo is feeling satisfied at tama yung kain niya before you start fasting. So, generally, at least on the first 2 weeks, wala mo ng fasting. You can eat as much as you want during your eating window. But after maybe 2 weeks to 4 weeks of doing low carb, you can try to notice, no? Kasi we don't also need so much food talaga. So what we want with low carb and fasting is appetite correction. Eating in moderation, but now with the right composition. Hindi na moderation, puro-puro carbohydrates, puro mga processed foods, at puro mga sweets, no? So in moderation pa din, and as much as you want, but make sure na hindi nyo niloloko yung katawan ninyo. Because the problem, you can still overeat when you do low carb and fasting. And okay lang if you're also very physically active. But as much as proteins and fats is not damaging kapag wala itong kasamang carbs. But when you take so much of it, is wala na rin yung kwenta. Wala na rin siyang extra need for our body. That's just extra na trabaho sa ating gut. Okay? And that's also extra fats na hindi natin kailangan. So, sayang lang. So, just eat whatever you need for the day. Hindi rin kailangan magsobra-sobra. But if you are still starting, yes, you can satisfy yourself by eating as much as you want and try to be mindful of the signals na binibigay ng katawan nyo sa inyo. So, yun yung sinasabi natin, try to listen with what your body is telling you kasi usually with the proper kind of low carb, you may join our low carb and fasting masterclass to know the basics para alam mo what you can eat and you will know the signals ng katawan na binibigay sa inyo so that alam nyo na when you already corrected your appetite. So, like for us, usually we cannot eat more than 2 meals a day na talaga. And before, we eat so much during that 2 meals. Ngayon, hindi na talaga. Parang bumalik na kami sa amount when it comes to amount na parang yung regular meal lang before na yun lang, na regular meal lang pero 2 beses na lang sa isang araw. So, thank you so much. Shirataki noodles every day. So, shirataki noodles, I always emphasize this, it's low carb. Wala siyang masyadong carbohydrates and generally halos wala talaga siyang anything. But you have to be mindful lang na when you eat shirataki rice and noodles every day, especially kung yun ang mas napaparami mong kain, ay baka makulangan ka sa kinakain mong proteins and fats. Okay? But if you are very mindful naman, nakakuha mo naman yung lahat ng kailangan mong fats and proteins in a day, hindi ka nanghihina, and all the other electrolytes, vitamins and minerals, because shirataki rice and noodles, it's empty. It's empty when it comes to nutrition. But it's a good bulking agent. Okay? Masarap siya. Even I also eat this from time to time. Like, isa siya sa mga stash ko, but I don't consume them every day. Yun lang yung mga panahon na, say, for example, yung ulam puro maalat lahat, or it's something na wala ako masyadong gana, but I would just like to eat something to fill in lang my stomach, and then I want to eat na later on. So those are the considerations. So just know na should you eat shirataki rice and noodles every day, ay hindi ka nakukulangan sa iyong required na proteins, fats, and also micronutrient needs in a day. So, sabi ni Bernard, my family doctor here in Edmonton always support me of your food list. Just to let you know, wow, that's so good naman. Sana no, maging mas open na talaga, especially yung mga Filipino doctors, in knowing na hindi required yung pagkain ng kanin, hindi required yung pagkain ng tinapay or pasta every day. Mas kailangan natin ang meat, proteins, healthy fats, and also other micronutrients na makukuha natin still in fats, still in meat, still in seafoods, or organ meats for those na gustong kumain ng liver, and others na vegetables that's in our food list. Okay? So, pina-follow na po kayo, Doktora, lahat ng friends ko. Sabi ni Annabelle. Hello, thank you so much, Annabelle, Sir Adele, and Edna. So, yan. I think okay na tayo, no? We will continue with our low carb and fasting Q&A maybe next time, but tomorrow. Yeah, I think tomorrow we can do another low carb Q&A, but this time marami tayong kasama, okay? Marami tayong kasama na mga ating advocates in low carb and fasting in the country. So, sino-sino ba tomorrow? We'll see. Kasama natin. Sila din yung mga kasama natin on the National Low Carb Day 2023. So, I hope you will support us, okay? I hope you will support the community. I hope you will come sa ating NLCD on National Low Carb Day on October 1, 2023. So, yan. Ano yan? So tomorrow, kasama natin on our live, of course, si Dodong Gala and Kuya Gibo and Commander Shi. Anythings and Ate Bata, Doc Bry. So, Doc Bry Castillo, our low carb doctor then. Alan Cura and our admin in LCFF and Life Without Rice, Ma'am Rosette. So, kasama natin tomorrow. And so, if you have questions, you can direct it to them para maka pagchikahan tayo. What time tomorrow? 7 p.m. tomorrow pa din. So, it's still gonna be 7 p.m. tomorrow. That's going to be July 29. So, eto na lang. May last. Na-mention niyo po na full cream po pwede as long as 50 ml. Tama po ba yung narinig ko? Marami talaga yung miss na yung milk, no? So, this is the last topic that we will discuss, no? So, milk, okay? Milk is in our caution list, okay? So, when it comes to caution list, you have to know na hindi ito pang unlimited. So, when it comes to milk, yung pinaka-low carb as compared to mga skim milk, low-fat milk, fresh milk, yung full cream milk, sila yung pinaka-low carb. It will range ng mga 12 to 15 grams per 250 ml. Okay? So, divide nyo yan. So, per 50 ml, nasa 4 to 6 grams yan of net carbs. But why is it na nasa caution list yung milk pa din? Because by nature, hindi talaga tayo umiinom ng milk until adulthood. Usually, reserve lang ang milk sa mga bata or developing children or babies. Why? Because the proteins in milk are actually mataas yung kanilang insulin response, insulinogenic, and merong protein that's mTOR protein that also responds with when it comes to cellular growth. Okay? Kapag merong mataas na mTOR spike, yung mTOR gene na yan, na-activate with certain kinds of food. So, milk and milk products, it activates mTOR. If you are already an adult, especially with merong lifestyle na medyo sedentary, yung impact ng mTOR on cellular growth and differentiation, pwede siyang mag-lead into tumor formation, pwede mag-lead into fat formation na kahit pa still on the low carb, but if accumulated, pwede siyang magkaroon ng ganong parang insulin effect. Okay? And also, marami din sa atin na hindi lang natin alam are actually also hindi tolerant when it comes to milk na proteins. Parang in shorter terms, no, parang allergic tayo in milk. But it's not the allergy na bigla kang nangangati or bigla kang namumula. It can have long-term effect na tumataas yung IgG mo, yung antibody response mo, meaning your body feels that you are consuming something threatening. So, nagiging on high alert, and that can lead into stress response sa katawan. Okay? So, that's why, okay, consuming milk and dairy products are still in our caution list kahit pa pwede siyang pasok sa low carb. So, yes, 50 ml will just give you around 5 to 6 grams of net carbs in a day. But mind you, hindi lang yung carbohydrate yung iniisip natin when it comes to milk, but there are also other components nito. The fats there are good, but the proteins there, it's something that we are really cautious about. Okay? Pang-building up eh. Tignan nyo yung mga bata na malakas uminom ng milk. Sila sobrang lusog. And then they will retain that parang baby face look talaga. And that's the impact of milk. And that's why, especially for adults, hindi necessary yung milk intake. But you can take it, you can consume it, especially if you are totally healed, wala nang health issues, physically active, and of course, when you take it with caution. So, yan lang muna tonight, guys. Maraming salamat. I hope you learned something today from our NLCD live series. Thank you so much for always watching and supporting us. So, before we end, tingnan natin sino pa ang nandito. So, we have Tess from Batangas, Monkey. So, other questions we will entertain tomorrow. Okay? So, make sure na nandito pa rin kayo sa ating live episode tomorrow on kailan yan? Tomorrow, July 29, 7 p.m. So, thank you so much, everyone. Maraming salamat for always tuning in. So, thank you. I'll see you on the next NLCD. So, I will just download yung ating mga videos for our NLCD. So, I will show you ano yung mga videos natin ng NLCD here. Na, have you heard na ba na we have a low carb anthem? Yan, I will send it to you. So, yeah. Good evening, everybody. Meron na akong i-upload. So, you can also view it later. So, yun. So, sino-sino pa nandyan? Ma'am Melinda, Ma'am Paulina, Ma'am Resil, Baldwin, Margarita, Sir Larry, Christine Marie, and Leia. Hello, Delma Chris, Christina Bing, Renee, Anton, Antoine, Araya, Yugamin, Juanita, Margarita. Hello po sa lahat. Thank you so much. So, thank you so much, everybody. This is Dr. Josephine Grace Rohatan. Always remember, of course, to stay low carb so that we all stay safe. I hope to see you on NLCD 2023. Sa mga hindi pa po nakapag-register, until Monday na lang po yung ating early bird rate. Okay? So, wag niyong sasabihin na by Tuesday na hindi niyo alam. So, alam niyo na ngayon. So, register via our website, nationallowcarbday.com. And if ever hindi kaya mag-register on your own, message nyo lang yung admins natin para matulungan kayo how to register. Just converse with our admins, no? We will do our best to reply to you. If not this weekend, this coming Monday. Don't worry, hindi po scam yan. We will get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you so much. I'll see you on NLCD 2023. Maraming salamat. Bye-bye, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. tayo ulit. Okay? Bye! National Low Carb Day 2023 is co-presented by Burp Low Carb Deli. We would like to thank our platinum sponsors, Perfect Match Low Carb Selections, Lorene Goodness from Coconuts, Just Go Low Carb, Shapes Keto Cakes, Naturals, Pep D, and SweetVest. We also would like to thank our gold sponsors, Keto Mojo, Health Max Care, Gabris, Cafe Viva, and Keto Zone.
Hmm? May nag-open ka sa atong Gcash?
No?
May nag-attempt open?
May nag-attempt. Kaya nakita man nila nga na-publish siguro. So, karang sa mga ginaano ta.